One of the biggest questions asked on the internet about game meat is, how do I make it less chewy? Firstly, being chewy is no bad thing, but secondly, in front of me I have done a test. 5 hours ago, I put into 8 bags, 8 pieces of muntjac fillet, all equally sliced. Obviously they come from slightly different sections, but they're all from right next to each other from 4 fillets. It's not a particularly chewy piece of meat, but chewier, I guess, than a beef fillet. I have got 8 different soaks that should do 8 different things, and we're gonna rank them in order of tenderness as we go. And hopefully we find a clear winner. We're gonna rank it on tenderness first, and then subcategories of flavor differential and cost.
So the 8 different marinades going head to head are salt water, apple cider vinegar, red wine, beer, lemon juice, pineapple juice, buttermilk and soy sauce. Each one's had time to work its magic. Now let's see how they stack up.
We are going to cook them in a pan with no other ingredients. Feels a little counterintuitive, but we're going to be fine. We're going to start with salt water, a very basic brine. When you brine meat, the salt helps lock in the water when you cook it. That's kind of the basics. Other things you add in can help enhance flavors, but this is just salt and water. Pretty boring, right? Let's crank it up. I'm not expecting much. I'm guessing this is not going to be high on the list. But we got to put something on the board, so let's go. For the sake of fairness, we're going to do 1 minute aside and cook them very evenly. Bang, let's rock it. All right, so visual impressions is that all of anything has come out of that meat. It's very white. All of the blood has been soaked out by the salt, which is another good thing about brining, is that it does soak out some of the stuff inside, and by some strange osmosis, takes stuff out and puts it back in. It's supposed to have this patted dry, and this is the cleanest one, so we should probably work in order of cleanest to messiest. All right, that's hottish. Whilst that cooks, let's get number 2 out the packet and drying. Number 2 will be lemon juice. We chuck that in there with lemon juice and a bit of lemon peel. Nothing super exciting. Acid is good for tenderizing meat. Acid breaks down the proteins in the meat, which literally makes it more tender, which is good. However, acids generally have a lot of flavor to them, so I'm not entirely sure what this will do to the flavor of this meat. I'd say that was about a minute. Wow. Oh, look at the salt crystals growing on the outside of that bad boy. That is, oh wow. Never really seen anything like that, except when they pack the meat in the salt and they bake it. And apparently that's good. So let's find out. You know, I do like salty meat. All right, let's turn that. Oh, wow. Given that usually I would soak something off or wash it off, scrub it off after brining, we're gonna give all of them a quick rinse in this bowl because the salt crystals probably won't be tender. That I know. This can go over there. That's a good place for it. There we go. I mean, from a looks perspective, it's got almost no color. This is not an attractive piece of meat to serve. In an ideal world though, we would put some butter in there or some kind of fat to cook it in, but that's not the test. Once we've decided what the best 2 are, I think we'll probably revisit them in a month or so's time and see how time affects it, or in fact, cooking style and preparation. But I'm not hating this. I am hating this. I'm hating every second. I feel like I'm ruining one of the best cuts of meat in the world. We are gonna head for a rare to medium rare. I mean, it smells like nothing other than burnt salt. So, that's good. I think what we're gonna do, we'll take that lemon one, put it through our rinse, dry it off, and then go for gold. We're not gonna let them rest. We're gonna take them straight out of the bowl. I've no idea what this is gonna be like. We're about to find out. Cooks good. That is eye-wateringly salty. It's tender. I mean, it is already a tender piece of meat, but it is tender. First impressions actually is that moisture retention is exceptional. You'll be asking now why we chose a tender piece of meat, because, well, I've got to eat it. And so it seems fair that even the worst piece is still pretty good. I'm going to put that salt in at a solid 5. It's pretty good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you washed it first, crunched some of that salt off, it wouldn't be eye-wateringly salty, but it was very juicy. But the fact it's had no cooking agent whatsoever, no. Let's give it a 5. Flavor was salt. It didn't taste of anything other than salt. And as you can see from the outside here, it's because it's got a very crispy layer of salt on the outside. Let's chop that salt off. It's not bad. Extremely tender. Absolutely no drama whatsoever there. From a cost perspective, everyone's got salt, everyone's got water. It's basically free, right? You've already bought the salt. There was some salt in there, I don't know, a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons, maybe 3. But it's an inexpensive agent. Anybody could do this to a piece of meat to help increase moisture retention, which is good. Dryness usually equals toughness. If you cook the granny out of a piece of meat, it will be tougher. From a personal cooking perspective, when cooking meats that you have brined, the discoloration or the fact that it has soaked all of the stuff out of it can make it a little harder to read when it's ready. When you got a nice bloody red piece of meat, you can see it going brown, you can see the blood going brown, you can see all those things happening. Oh, it's quite sticky. The lemon juice definitely has sugar in it. And that is now making a very sticky sauce on the bottom of the pan. I said I was setting a timer. I didn't set a timer. All right, I'm feeling that. No, I don't know whether it's done. I have literally no idea whether that's cooked or not. Definitely the acid decoloration, or in fact, mild cooking, right? Almost like a ceviche, is makes it tough to know what's going on. Let's find out, shall we? We can always chop the end off and we can always put it back in. Yeah, we're good, but if you look at the discoloration on the outside, you can see that the acid has actually cooked the outside of the meat, and then we can see our actual heat cooking the inside of the meat. I am excited for this, but before we try that, we're gonna go down the acid route extraordinaire. Lemons are quite acidic. Apple cider vinegar is more acidic. And I feel these are 2 good ones to have back to back. Let's, oh, I mean, it smells like pickled venison. All right. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is smelly. And again, it has cooked the outside of that meat. So let's put that in there. Are you ready? That's worse. It's also extremely lemony. The lemoniness, I could get over, right? If you were cooking that in some kind of lemony dish, you'd probably be all right, but that is not an overcooked piece of meat. I mean, in the slightest, but it tastes grainier. Tastes bad, tastes dry. Not a win, lemon. Which is strange, because I figured, like, lemon's usually pretty good. Maybe it's too long for lemon. Oh, look, we got some crazy crystalline stuff happening again on this bad boy. It definitely smells like a fish and chip shop. Oh, we'll have one more piece of lemon just to... Lemon's gross. Oh, lemon is so bad. Really, I expected it to be probably less bad. Next up, we are going to go for this. Soy sauce. I'm hoping that it's going to be less bad than the lemon. And I'm hoping that that umami base and the enzymes in the soy sauce, along with the salt, should give us a superior finish to the salty water. There's only one way to find out. I mean, look at the color on that bad boy. Let's wash it off. I mean, it smells way sweeter than you'd expect soy sauce to smell. I'm hoping this is a good thing. I mean, I use soy sauce unnecessarily in lots of things, so I'm hoping that it's been for just cause. All right, let's pop out apple cider vinegar. Oh, we've lost a bit to the pan gods. Butter would probably be a contaminant, right? It is salty and delicious. Chuck soy sauce in. Try and avoid getting it in the way of the others. Oh my goodness. The penetration of the acid is greater again. That is pretty wild. It feels better.
Sometimes you gotta pray for a victory.
From a tenderness perspective, that is like butter. That's wildly good. It's a real shame about it tasting like pickled venison. Try number 2. It's unequivocally the most tender venison I have ever eaten. Almost jellified. You could probably cook it sympathetically. Maybe if you just served it as a pickle thing. Like pickled venison. And you put it with some kind of refreshing sauce. And it could be a hack, you know. That's like the ultimate side dish, dippy, amuse-bouche. You put it on a little tray, 4 or 5 slices with some sauce. I reckon you'd be popular. Okay. Wow. Have a look at the crust on the top of that. That's quite wild. The big question is where does that apple cider vinegar rank? Because the flavour was apple cider vinegary. I think in context, if you served it with some tzatziki and some salad, maybe some sliced radishes, something posh, I think it'd be quite good. It's above salt. A quick recap on costings for lemon and apple cider vinegar. Lemons are, what, £1 a bag. It's not prohibitively expensive, it's 20 odd p. That's not so bad, and that was 1 lemon. Apple cider vinegar is not inexpensive to buy a bottle, but the amount we used, again, negligible, less than £1, totally acceptable use. Why not? In fact, I'm gonna have another piece. It's definitely a unique taste, but the big question is can you taste the venison in any respect, or is it just vinegar? And the answer is, it's just vinegar. Even with the salt, you could taste the venison. Even with the lemon, you could taste the venison. There's gotta be some balance there, but maybe less time in the soak. All right, we're good, we're good, we're good. Let's do this. After this, we're gonna turn this off, clean the pan, because there's an awful lot of stuff baked to the bottom. Smells good, smells sweet. Looks sticky, there's juice coming out of it. That's great. I mean, in terms of tenderness, I think I'm gonna bump salt down to 4 and give that 5th place. That is actually really good. In terms of flavor profile, that bumps it up. That really does bump it up. No, you can't argue that. That's a solid 5-6. I'd cook that, and I'd think I was quite proud. The flavors are good, it's not overpowering the venison, you can still taste the venison. The outside is nicely tenderized. The penetration of it, if you look at the coloration, is adequate. 100% I would cook and eat that. And as such, it's a 7 from me. Cost is somewhat prohibitive. Only that is really good soy sauce, but it's still probably only £1's worth, and you could have done a lot more venison with that £1's worth. So, you know, none of these are super expensive things, and I guess that's why they are popular marinades. Next up is beer. A quick recap. We had soy sauce that tasted like soy sauce. It was relatively tender, not bad. We had lemon, tasted quite lemony, but the texture was chewier than it should have been. We had apple cider vinegar, which was not even a meat texture. It was like completely decomposed, completely broke down everything in there. It was like eating jello. However, salt was good. The most basic one was actually really good. It was, however, so salty, it was gross. Beer, I'm excited for. Beer is not particularly acidic. What it does have is a lot of enzymes in it, and inherently, again through osmosis, should leave us with a less bloody piece of meat, slightly higher moisture retention, and a nice malty, earthy flavor. We dry it off. The venison I love because it's red. This looks like a piece of meat you bought in the shop, all washed out and minging. I mean, it smells like beer. It's interesting because I've cooked with most of these things before, but never just let it soak in that alone. I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little nervous. We'll get pineapple ready whilst we stop. A pineapple is a bit of a goat. It has enzymes and acids. I am mildly nervous, having never soaked a piece of meat in pineapple before. However, we're about to see whether the internet has let us down with alternative facts. It smells great. Time to flip the beer. Ooh, that's looking a bit dry. This video should really be called How to Write Off a Non-Stick Pan. Fingers crossed this is going to be good, but you know, beer isn't like a traditional soak, is it? Beer you put into things. Venison pie you might put some beer in. It's more of a flavor agent in my head. It does have quite a acrid smell. Burnt beer smell. It smells like burnt popcorn actually. Pineapple going in. Cook is good. Cook is good. It cooked a bit slower than the others, interestingly. Tastes a little bit like beer. Needs salt. The beer does add a nice malty flavor, and the texture is pretty much venison texture. Did very little in terms of enhancing the tenderness. Edibility, yeah. Expense, it's £1.50 a bottle. I used half a bottle, and I drank the other half of the bottle. And in my head, that negates the cost, because I got to drink half a beer. But in terms of tenderness, there is no improvement whatsoever. Look at this, we've got like sugars being spat out and everything. That is a pretty cool sight, isn't it? Might aid in the caramelization. I don't know. There's a lot of sugar and acid and enzymes in pineapple. It actually even looks juicy, which is good, I think. With venison, remember, there's a lot of variables at play. When you buy some lamb, that sheep and all his little sheep friends have lived a very similar life. They lived in a field, they've got the same food, the same lifestyle, provided you buy them from the same farmer, and even then there's a certain set way of doing things. A deer, when you harvest it, can be any age, have lived any life, and so you do get some deer that just taste infinitely more tender than others. Generally speaking, you want something that's lived in a nice, lush green wood, and you don't want it to be that old. A nice young deer is gonna be preferable. You don't get as much meat on it, but I guess it's what you're after. If you're mincing it, it makes no difference. If you're slow cooking it, makes no difference. In fact, sometimes the older the better. But for something like this, something young and juicy is the win. All right, let's get after it. There's a lot riding on this. This has been something I've wanted to do for quite a while. Oh, it cuts well. And because of all of that juice that's been soaked up, whatever it is inside there, it is cooked quite slowly. Still smells an awful lot like venison. That's the winner. It doesn't get better than that. If you added some other flavors into that profile, that is poof. Soft, but not jelly. Still a little bit of bite to it, which is what you want. It's meat, but wow. Wow. It's a shame about the food miles. But hey, sometimes it's okay to do dumb things, like import pineapples. You know, it really didn't add anything to the flavor. A little bit of sweetness, maybe, a little bit of acid, but I think the sugars and the acids really balance themselves out. You can't taste it. Not really. It still tastes exactly like a piece of venison. That is wild. We need to retry that with a tough piece of meat, because this, wow, I need another piece of that. All right. So on to red wine. Red wine is acidic. Once again, acids break down proteins. Red wine also has a nice earthy flavor it imparts. That's why we cook with red wine and red meat quite often. Again, a bit like the beer. I've used it as an additive agent, and I guess I've added it into a marinade before. If anything, look at the color of that. Got purple meat. Whilst the red wine soak cooks, let's wash off our buttermilk. Buttermilk is one of those popular marinades in the world. I mean, every piece of fried chicken should have gone through buttermilk at some point. It's acidic. It's got enzymes. It's the other hack, right? If pineapple is like the odd one, buttermilk is the go-to. I genuinely thought this would just achieve top place automatically, but I think we're gonna have to have a reshuffle at the end. One of the benefits of cooking with red wine is it does smell good. I do enjoy the flavor of cooked wine. The flavor of cooked beer, in this kind of way, was probably a little less good. I don't think you're supposed to burn beer. Red wine you can burn, clearly, because it doesn't smell that bad. And juices that come out of them has been very different one to the other. The pineapple was clearly the juiciest. The amount of burn off from it was great. This red wine one is leaving a bit of stain on the pan, a little bit of juice coming out, but mostly it looks dry. Whether that's good or bad, I don't entirely know. Okay, let's cut it. But first, buttermilk's going in. Right, ready? Well, it doesn't cut nicely. Still smells of venison, that is a good thing. I guess there's something to be said with some of these soaks that actually the cooking time has varied massively. All of these I've cooked to a very similar level on the outside, and some just the hydration of whatever they've been in, or the soak of whatever they've been in, however it's changed the outside, has affected how the inside has cooked. This red wine has provided a very, very hard barrier by whatever's been coming out of it. And as you can see, the eye in the middle, there's almost no bleed off from the cooked to the raw. Usually there's a little bit of change there, but there is none in this given the amount that I've cooked it. It is tender, it's sort of up there in that soy level, and the flavor profile is great. It's got to be like joint with soy, I think. Probably above, but below pineapple. Spin that over. It's definitely not the most appetizing looking piece of meat, this one. Doesn't look like it's cooking. It clearly is, it's in a hot pan. Let's just have to trust intuition and timing really and find out how long it is. Honestly, this has been a fun and interesting test. I can't wait to finish it up with this. I've learned a lot. I guess inherently, soaking it in something is better than not soaking it in anything. But with a piece of meat like this, it is all about how you cook it. And this isn't the optimal way. Let's find out how good buttermilk is at tenderizing venison. Oh wow, okay. Hasn't really cooked. It's been in there a while. Now that's interesting. Let's try a piece. We might need to cook that a bit more. I mean, it's definitely slowed down the cooking process. And that's no bad thing, right? Let the heat get into the middle without overcooking it. A lot of the time, certainly when you're cooking venison, to get the heat into the middle, because you do want it warmed up, at least to a certain temperature, you do end up with a slightly odd outside. This has slowed down the cooking process fantastically and has not changed the flavor profile at all. This is a good thing. It's not bad. Kind of underwhelming after some of the wacky flavors and things we've had. I am gonna just chuck a piece back in just to give it a bit more of a abuse and see how it stands up. You poor little thing. Oh, that'll do. Let's have a look how that is. That's cooked properly. I mean, it is what it is, right? That's pretty unexotic. It's definitely juicier than it would have been without the soak. For me, the biggest takeaway there is that was cooked as long as any of the others and it barely cooked. You could use that to your advantage, for goodness sake. Of course you could. But it doesn't make it mysteriously more tender like some of the other things we've had. I think I'm gonna have a little reshuffle now that I've done all this, and I'll present the results. After much deliberation from the judges, we have got a list. I ate them all again cold to have a look and a bit of a rethink. And in reverse order, the worst was lemon. It made it tougher, it didn't make it taste better, there was no benefits to soaking it in lemon whatsoever. It did remove the gamey taste, and if you're looking to do that, that was a pretty good thing to do. But all other effects were adverse, and that's bad. Second, surprisingly maybe, was apple cider vinegar. It was the best tenderizer of the lot. But actually too tender is a bad thing. It pickled it. We essentially pickled that piece of meat completely destroyed it. Was that good? Well, maybe it could be considered good, but I think it removed it out of being a edible dinner dish and more into a starter dish. If you sliced it nicely and put it with some other pickled goods on a very fancy starter at a fancy restaurant, I expect that would be your thing. However, that's not really what we were searching for here today. It also tasted like a pickled piece of meat. It would be unusable for anything other than a flavoring agent, and so it's dead to me. It's not dead to me. It's put on the back burner for when I want to impress with a pickled venison starter one day, which will never happen. Number 6, beer. It was alright. It did do some tenderizing. It was definitely better than having no soak whatsoever, but the flavor of the beer whilst cooked in a pan was not mega. Using beer as a flavoring agent for its maltiness is good, but it sucked at this in reality. 3, 4, and 5 realistically all share third place. That is salt, red wine, and soy. They both did an amazing job of tenderizing that meat and making it juicier and better. Flavor profile wise, soy was overpowering. Red wine was quite nice and earthy, but it does require you to like the taste of red wine. And salt, probably should have washed it off. That much salt definitely was an aggressive thing. I think if you were to do that and then chip all those chips away, or at least wash it off first, that would have put it actually at a solid number 3. But in reality, I think brining with a salt-based brine probably pips the other 2. You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there. They all did a similar job with the end result, and so they can share. Joint 3rd to 6th. Second was buttermilk. No adverse flavor differential whatsoever over venison. Just tasted like venison, and that is a good thing. It's kind of the point in buying, eating, shooting, harvesting, using venison, is to taste the meat. It made it cook much slower, it did make it juicier, it was genuinely good. Buttermilk, what was it? £1 a pot? We would be able to do a lot of venison with that, and so it was quite good. You could have like a chicken fried steak with venison, using buttermilk as your base for your soak. It wouldn't be a bad deal. And finally, the goat. The confirmed goat of meat tenderization was pineapple. Pineapple enhanced the flavor of the meat. The acids, the sweetness, the general flavor of it, you could still taste the meat entirely. Took a lot of the gaminess away, but just added something. If you were to use that and cook it with a bit of sauce or a bit of butter, just even a bit of salt and butter would be an exceptional piece of meat. And for that reason, pineapple wins. I mean, hands down wins. There you go. We're gonna have to import a lot of pineapples, the way it is. Guys, thank you for watching. I have certainly learned something today. I hope you have too. Well, we'll see you next time.